Hi everyone and welcome back to Googie's Kitchen, and if you are new here then hello and welcome. My name's Alexis and today I want to show you how to make my tikka salmon and tomato quinoa. As I just mentioned, today I'm going to be showing you how to make my tikka salmon and quinoa rice. Now in this recipe I make everything from scratch, which sounds complicated, but honestly it isn't. It's a very simple dish to make and the efforts of making it are worth the results because it is so tasty. So I actually made up this dish last night, but I held back a few of the ingredients so I could make it again for you today in the daylight. Unfortunately it gets very dark in the UK about 4 o'clock, so I don't really like to film them. I much prefer filming in the daylight. And yeah, I just thought I'm going to be having this as leftovers today, so while I was making it I thought I'd share the recipe with you. So here is how to make my delicious tikka salmon and quinoa rice. So the first thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 200 degrees. So I thought I'd start with the last piece of salmon that I have in this bowl. So last night I made the salmon up. So what I did, I got a smaller bowl and I added 1 teaspoon of mild chili powder, and then I added 1 teaspoon of garlic granules, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of ground pepper, and then I added to that bowl salt and pepper as well to my taste, and then I added some olive oil and I made it into a paste, and then I smeared about 3 fish fillets with the paste. I've actually used salmon, but you could use any kind of fish you like. I think this would work with all fish, to be honest with you. So yeah, I just smeared it in the paste that I'd made, and then I put this in the fridge for 20 minutes. Obviously this one has stayed out of the fridge, has been in the fridge overnight, but it's still okay. So I shall put this in the oven in a little while. So I'm going to move on to making the tomato rice, and for the tomato rice I've put a large pan and I'm going to put this onto a high heat, and as always I'm going to add oil to the base of that pan as well. So just a little bit, enough to cover the base basically, and I shall move the oil around, helping it to cover the whole of the base. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this pan to heat up. So my pan has started to heat up nicely now, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 4 spring onions. So if you were making this as the full recipe you would obviously add a bunch of spring onions, but I've got about 3 or 4 here, so that was about a quarter of the ingredients. So I'm just going to fry these round until they start to soften now. And with this dish, I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video, I thought this would be a really nice one to have on Christmas Eve. I know in a lot of countries they have fish on Christmas Eve, and they tend to make Christmas Eve the official day for Christmas. I don't know why that is. I know they do that in Switzerland, but yeah, so we normally have fish on Christmas Eve, and I always think that salmon is a lovely fish to have on Christmas Eve. So yeah, I thought this dish would be nice. It's nice at any time of year, but at Christmas I thought it was quite a nice one to eat, really. So I'm going to, that's that fried, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, so I peeled and grated 1 courgette. You don't have to grate it, you can just slice it if you want to. So I'm going to put that into the bottom of my pan, and I've also got 1 yellow pepper that I chopped the top off, I removed the core, and then I just sliced and diced the flesh. So I'm going to put that in as well. Again, you don't have to slice and dice it, you could just slice it if you want to. So yeah, and I'm just going to fry these until these start to soften slightly now. So everything has started to soften nicely now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my quinoa. Now if you can't get quinoa then you could use rice for this, or you could use risotto rice as well if you wanted to. So I'm just going to add that in, and I'm just going to fry it round. Now nothing really happens to quinoa, it's not like rice where it goes clear and see-through. I just want to get some heat through it to penetrate it a little bit. So I'm just going to stir this for about 30 seconds or so, and then I'm going to add my tomatoes. So I'm going to add about half a tin of tomatoes. Obviously I'm quartering all the ingredients for this one. So I've added about half a tin of tomatoes to that. And I'm just going to let that heat through. Now, also, I would have some chicken stock for this recipe, but unfortunately I've run out of stock completely in my freezer, and I don't really like to use the ones you can buy in the supermarket because they tend to contain sugar and like chemical nasties and stuff. So I much prefer fresh chicken stock that I've frozen, like homemade chicken stock I've made myself. So instead I'm going to use water for this recipe, and I'm just going to pour that in like so, and then I'm going to add about a quarter teaspoon or tablespoon, sorry, or actually half a tablespoon of tomato puree, and I'm also going to add probably about half a teaspoon of tamari, which is soya sauce. So tamari is gluten-free soya sauce, and it's fermented for slightly longer, so it is better for the body, but it is more expensive in the supermarket. So if you're not gluten-free and you're on a budget, then that I would buy soya sauce, honestly. But if you are gluten intolerant like myself, then that is the only option I have found for soya sauce. So if anybody's got any other options, then please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And then finally I'm going to add in a teaspoon of dried mixed herbs to this as well. So I think I might just add a little bit more water as well. I did add 200 ml, but I think it may need a little bit more. So I just add that in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to the boil. So I'm going to turn the heat up, and then once it comes to the boil, I shall turn the heat down and leave it to simmer for as long as it takes for all of the quinoa to absorb those delicious flavours. The pot has come to the boil now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat down, and this should take about 20 minutes to boil. To simmer, sorry, and absorb all of the quinoa, to absorb all the liquid. So while that's simmering in the pan, I'm going to put my salmon into my baking tray like so, and I'm going to put that into the oven now. And I also forgot to add salt and pepper to your taste as well, so I'm just going to put a bit of salt in there, and then I'm going to add a sprinkling of pepper as well. Oh yeah, as I said, salt and pepper to your taste, and I'm just going to give that a stir. Shouldn't really lift the lid, but I've done it now, so that's it. So my quinoa has cooked, but before I take it off the heat, I'm going to add in a couple of, well, one handful of kale. You could use kale, you could use spinach, or any type of greens you have. If you wanted to add things like broccoli, then obviously please cook them separately and then add them in, but I love kale and I really like it in dishes like this with tomato. So I'm just letting that wilt down. I'm going to turn the heat off now, and I'm going to go and get my salmon from the oven. I'm going to plate up now, so what I'm going to do is I am going to put my quinoa into the bottom of this bowl like so. Oh, it smells delicious. I can't wait to have my lunch. And then I'm going to get my salmon. Oh, that's my timer going off. I'm going to go and get my salmon, and I'm going to put that on top, and that is my lunch done. So that's how you make my tikka salmon and tomato quinoa, and that recipe I will link in the description box below for you. I'm off to have this for my lunch now. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to leave any comments below, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you all soon. Bye.